Hey guys and gals, and welcome to another video from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed or learned something from the video, consider liking it and consider subscribing for more Blender, Unity, Unreal, coding, and all sorts of other CG related videos. Lastly, don't forget our motto, create your way. In this video, the only new topic that I'm going to be introducing is making a basic blueprint on an actor. So my goal is to make a static mesh spin on its Z-axis, so vertical axis, so basically spinning around, yawing when a certain key is pressed. So this video is being made as an aside from my usual volumes that I'm going to be making from switching from Unity to Unreal. Two reasons for that. A, my own learning, and B, just for a showcase for some fellow forum members that I promised that are a little bit curious about how the pipeline for doing things like this and the workflow is between Unity and Unreal. So if you're looking for volume 2, where I walk you through navigating the viewport and what all these buttons do and stuff like that, that'll be the next volume. That'll be volume 2, and that'll be posted when I have time the next day or two. This video is not directly focusing on that. This video is focusing on my need to show how to make a mesh rotate on its axis, the basic workflow. So to start, I'm going to do the same as before. I'm just quickly going to import my static mesh and quickly texture it with a material, and then I'll create and add a blueprint script to it that spins it on its Z axis when a certain key is pressed. So let's get started. So I've already practiced this a few times. So under my content browser, aka the project window in Unity, I think this is like your assets folder is content, which you could rename to assets. Anyways, I have a folder called blueprints for my scripts. That's essentially your scripts folder. I'm going to create a new folder called meshes, or no, I'm going to call it models, and I'm going to import one of my models from before. So I'm going to import the T-joint that I made as my first practice material. The scale, I realize, needs to be I believe 10x from Blender. My scaling was 0.1 when I exported it. So I'm gonna import the file with that setting. So if I drag and drop it in there, yeah, I get my mesh. Perfect. Okay, so I am also going to create a new folder called materials, and in there I'm going to just import my texture. So I'm going to import the T-joint diffuse texture map. Alright, so my models, my T-joint, I'm going to import that into the scene as a new actor. I'm just going to move it up here so that we can see it. So I'm going to turn down my camera speed again. Maybe I'll try 3. Yeah, it works pretty good. So my T-joint there with its base material. So I'm just going to quickly add a material and texture. So I did that by creating a new material. So I'm going to create a new material in my materials folder. I'm going to call it same as before, T_joint. Alright, so we'll double click on that to open up the material editor in a tab, and I'm just going to bring the base color over here to place a new node, and I'm going to search for texture, or what is it called? I can't remember now. It's hotkey T. Texture sample. Okay, so base color, texture sample. Now can I click on here to select it? Missing input. Can I select it from here? Still learning. Okay, there we go. I can do it from there. There we go. Good to go. Alright, so that texture is good. So I'm gonna apply that, and I'm going to save it. It is a little bit slower than Unity. I think that's probably because I have my recording and Firefox open with like 30 tabs. But anyways, so I'm now going to choose that material in for my T-joint actor, which I'm going to add to my static meshes layer. So for now we just have T-joint and the base floor. So I'm going to choose my material, which is T-joint material. There we go. It is now textured exactly as wanted. Not that that really matters, but okay. So we have a static mesh imported and a basic material with just a diffuse texture added. Next up, we need to do the scripting. So I haven't perfected this. This was my very first day doing any sort of blueprinting in Unreal Engine, but I've sort of got it figured out. I was able to get it so that when the key is pressed, it rotates. I haven't learned enough to be able to get it to constantly rotate as the key is held down. I know it's easily possible. I just haven't practiced enough to figure it all out yet. There's too many nodes to add to be able to figure it all out. And I think I practiced for, what time is it, 11? I practiced for about an hour and a half. So anyways, I'm gonna convert this actor into a reusable blueprint class that can have script behavior. So what that means is I'm gonna basically turn this into a prefab. So I'm gonna click that, and it'll ask me where I want to save this blueprint. I'm going to save it under my blueprints folder, and I'm going to save it as T-joint blueprint and click create blueprint, and that should open the blueprint editor in a new window. There we go. So it gives us a little preview here where we can preview what we're doing to us. It gives us a construction script. This is where we can create well, this is the base function, so this is where you create functions. As you can see here, we have functions, and construction script is the one that it automatically just creates. And then we have the event graph, and so this is similar to if you were to make a C# script. Event tick, for example, would be the update function. Event begin play would be the start function. And this is a trigger function. So that's kind of how that works. And so how this blueprinting system works, as far as I've learned so far, is this is kind of like your main script, since this is visual scripting, and then you create functions which you then bring into your event graph. So you create all your game logic for this specific actor in here. So we're gonna start off by allowing our actor to get keyboard input. So to do that, we're not gonna use event tick, so we're not gonna update every frame. What we're gonna do on event begin play, so if I hover over it, it says event when play begins for this actor. Target is actor. So we have a node search over here in my palette window, and I also have a details window. If I click on one, it gives me more details about it. For example, well, I'll get into that after. Anyway, so from my palette, I can either search for something, or I can right click and do the same, or I can drag a node, and when I release, then it brings up the same thing. So since I've already done this, I'm gonna go from what I remembered. So I know that I need to enable input on my actor, so I'm going to add the enable input node. And so when we begin play, I'm going to execute this node, and we need to get player controller. So basically I would assume that is like the keyboard, or no, this would be what player is controlling our input. And so in this case, the player index is 0, which would be us. So the return value is going to go into the player controller node pin, or whatever you call it. And that is that. Now we need to add our button. I'm going to choose Y for yaw. So I'm going to search up key, and we have a bunch of key events here. So I'm going to take the Y key events. I'm going to drag that node in, so we have pressed and released. But for now, I'm just going to leave this as it is, because we need to create our function to actually rotate it. So I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to name it Y to rotate. I'm going to delete construction script if I can. Okay, I guess I can't, since it's the stock one, but no matter. So this is our new function that we're creating, as indicated by the purple and the fact that it's in the functions list. You'll see under the details window, I now have things. For example, I can have inputs and outputs. So I'm going to create a new input called rotation speed. Now that's what I originally called it. In this case, it would be a rotation amount, but I'm going to make it a float. And we're going to go back to our palette and we're going to search for a float multiplication. So multiplying two floats, so float times float. I'm going to drag that node in. I'm going to, we need some way to get game time, so like time.delta time. So far the closest one I've been able to find is get game time in seconds. Actually, that looks... returns how long the given key button has been down. That could be a way to possibly do this the way we want. Anyways, I'll play with it later. I don't want to waste time playing around in this video. I just want to quickly get through it. So, the return value of game times in seconds, which if we hover over it, it's the current game time in seconds, stops when it's paused, and it's also affected by slow-mo. So, we want that return value into one node, and we want our rotation speed that we'll define from our event graph into the first node, that's A and B, so we're multiplying A and B, and we're going to multiply these two floats into a make rotation node, so make rot, and we are going to take that return value into the yaw. I wish they used X, Y, and Z, but I'm sure I'll get used to it in time. And just one small thing to get used to, but yaw is Z in this case, so the vertical axis. And that return value, so this does nothing on its own. What we need to do is we need to put a, I guess you could call it a method. We need to put a function in our function though, and that function is set actor relative rotation. There's also just set actor rotation, but what that does, here, let's see if I can find them. Yeah, set actor location would be like your transform dot translate, etc. So there's relative rotation and there's rotation. So when I tried set actor rotation, that just rotated it to whatever I set for rotation speed, whereas set actor relative rotation allowed me to do it more than once. So I believe that's what we need in this instance. And so we're just going to take the return value and plug it into here. So it's obviously going to take the yaw and plug it into the yaw there, and that is almost all we need to do here. All we need to do now is the execute command into the input execute here. So when we call the Y to rotate function, it executes all of this just like that. So that's our function. I'm gonna compile it. I'm gonna save it. It compiled successfully in 153 milliseconds. I'm going to go back to my event graph. So now we have our function we can use. So I'm going to take this function, Y to rotate. I'm going to drag and drop it into our event graph. And so when Y is pressed, this is another execution node. So when it's pressed, we want to execute Y to rotate, our Y to rotate function. Target self, so that's our T-joint since we made it into a blueprint, and the rotation speed we will set to 150. Again, I haven't been able to get this to rotate continuously, so that's just a random number. That is it though. That is that. So now I'm going to compile again and save. If we go back to our game and hit play, it should now, when we press Y, rotate, or apparently not. Maybe that's because it is static. I need to move it to movable, or change it to movable. So now when I press play and press Y, it rotates. Every time I press Y, it's rotating a certain amount, what it considers to be 150. I can't hold it down, unfortunately. And so yeah, the cool thing is I think now that I've made it movable instead of static in the blueprint editor. So you get a little preview window there. Before I was able to get it in here. I'm sure there's some way to refresh it. I just haven't figured it out yet. But anyways, that is basically it. So yeah, it's, you import your mesh, you create a material. I first did this on just a simple cube, and then I just made it movable and turned it into a blueprint, aka added a script to it. But you can do that to anything, obviously, and then yeah, it's as easy as editing the blueprint. So as I said before, this is our function, this is what actually rotates it, and then this is our main script. So basically the start function here, event begin plays like our start function. So when we start, we enable player input, and that player's input is going to be player index 0, which is us, and when Y is pressed, it calls the Y to rotate function. So that's what I've learned this morning in a couple hours, my first try at blueprinting. I know it's not exactly what we were looking for, but that is my start. So I'm sure as I play with it more and more, and I'm sure as I do some more courses, I will learn how to do this properly, and I will learn the absolute amazing amount of things in here. Obviously it's a whole API in itself, you know. There's got to be at least 1,000 things in here. There's so much. I mean, there's just directory after directory after directory, physics, movement, camera, collision, experimental, all sorts of stuff. Anyways, so that is that. So yeah, this is what I would consider volume 1A, kind of getting into blueprinting and just showing you kind of how you would add a script in Unreal versus adding a script in Unity. In Unity, you just make your script and you add it to your game object. In Unity, you create your blueprint and add it to an actor, or you just convert your actor to a blueprint, aka add a script, as you saw when I added a cube and it says blueprint / add script. So kind of the same thing. So that is my video for now. I will make another one once I learn some more about blueprinting to actually make it so that it rotates on a time.delta time as the key is held down. But I just haven't got into that far yet. So anyways, this has gone a little bit longer than I intended. So that is all for now. Thanks for watching from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed this video and learned something about Unity versus Unreal and blueprinting versus scripting, then consider liking it and consider subscribing for more videos. We're on Twitter and Facebook at the links you'll see on your screen. If you dislike this video for some reason, instead of just leaving with a thumbs down, please leave us a comment, or if it's private, email us at info@blendertech.com as to what you did not like, so that we can continually improve our videos based on your community input. We also take requests for videos and call for helps, so if you're having an issue or if you want to see something, let us know, and if we have the time and abilities, we will make a video up for you. So see you next time. Remember, create your way.